I have many, many rules of thumb. One of my rules of thumb is about fishing heavy cover. Do y'all remember what it is? I've told you this before. Good morning, guys and girls. February 13, reading our Daily Devotional from a Catch a Better Life book by Jimmy Houston. That's a YouTube channel, Catch a Better Life with Jimmy Houston. If you're not subscribed to that channel, subscribe to it right now. If you want to get a copy of the book, we've got them at jimmyhouston.com. They've got them at Amazon. They've got them at Bass Pro Shop and Cabela's, Hobby Lobby, Barnes & Nobles, pretty much any place that books are sold. We're looking at 1 Daniel 3:1. Daniel's a great book of the Bible. I love Daniel. Daniel 3:1. Nebuchadnezzar, the king, made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. That's a big statue. That's a lot of gold. That's a big statue. Fishing is important to a lot of us. It's more than a hobby. Yep. More than a sport. It's more than friendly competition to a lot of us. It's a way of life. That's right. It's a way of life. Can fishing become our God? Can fishing become our God? Well, I think it can. I think fishing can actually become our God. We don't want to let that happen. We don't want fishing to become our God, but it can. It certainly can. There might be a thin, fine line between fishing becoming our God and not becoming our God, particularly those of us who do it for a living. I fished tournaments for 54 years. We've done the television show for 46 years. We do this for a living. There's a thin line there between fishing becoming my God and becoming a way that I make a living, a hobby, a sport, a passion. God allows no other God. God allows no other God. He doesn't share his throne with anybody. It's God's throne. He doesn't share it with anybody. He doesn't share it with anything. In today's verse, we find a blatant example of a man declaring himself as God. Made a giant gold statue. Not only that, he had the people bow down and worship that statue every time they blew the trumpet. The king created a 90-foot tall statue, and all were commanded to bow down and worship it. 90-foot tall statue. But the gods in our lives will not necessarily be that obvious. They can slip in little by little. Slip in just a little of this, a little of this, a little bit of this, until they're on our throne. Until we've placed them ahead of the God that we worship. We have taken God off our throne and placed something else on it. These gods can take many forms. They can be a hobby. They can be your job. Your job could be your God. They can be a sport. We can be so tied up and wrapped up in some certain sport that it becomes our God. Obviously, our God can be money. Our God can be power. I think probably one of the big problems in America that we have with our government is for so many of those individuals that we've elected to be our servants, they've let power become their God. It's more important than you and me. It's more important than their family. It's more important than their God. Power. Sex. Sex can become our God. Who or what are we really worshiping today? Sometimes we need to take a little personal inventory and ask ourselves, is God still really on our throne? And if he's not, whatever we put on that throne, we need to take off and get rid of, put God back on it. Here's our tip for today. Fish. This is one of my rules of thumb. This is probably one of the first rules of thumb that I ever developed back when I was a youngster. Started fishing tournaments and people started asking me about what are some of the things that I believed in and some of the things that was causing me to win tournaments. Fish shallow cover near deep water. That's right. You find good structure that bass like to get around that's really, really close to deep water. I've always found that lily pads, was one of those, because lily pads grew in shallow water, but there's always some deep water really, really close by. A brush pile, a boat dock, a point, anything shallow cover around deep water ends up being a good place to catch fish. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great one today. And remember, I sure do love you.